assignment is to stop the litigation that's ongoing. That's what the assignment is. The assignment is two. One, get into the position where you can start doing something on these properties, and you know, when a mortgagee calls you up, you can actually say, I can talk to you, as opposed to, I'm not in a position where I can really talk to you now because we really don't have yet a technical role for that. And, you know, so it's we have to get into a position where we have that, and that stops the litigation that the creditors want. And the majority of the creditors are completely behind this, and I think we will get a unanimous behind this. But they will stop everything. Now, your attorneys have asked, does that mean they'll dismiss everything? And probably not. They'll probably hold it in abeyance, for their litigation in abeyance, to find out what happens through the whole process. But that's, so those are the steps. So you say, if you said, well, could we assign part of it but not all of it? If it doesn't satisfy the creditors and they don't stop their litigation, then we don't, it didn't accomplish what we did accomplish.
There's only, I believe, a couple properties that have issues there.
That are subject to litigation?
No.
No, that have issues of assigning rights.
I would have thought that you guys have a list and identified them right now. That, you know, you've got all the paperwork and you've identified those, and that there's this list of properties that there's some issues with just assigning it, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't know that we have the list put together, so.
No, we don't have that.
Yeah.
You don't?
You said no.
What did you guys do, Bill? I'm just confused over what you've done. You came and copied stuff. Is that what? It's $60,000 to $80,000 of cost here. You just copied stuff. It sounds like you did no analysis on any value of any property. And you know, someone says, well, they have a spreadsheet. And I go, well, they had our spreadsheet. That's what they started with. So what analysis
did you not want us to start with your spreadsheet?
No, I did, but they
we did start with your spreadsheet,
yeah.
And then we added in quite a bit of additional information.
So what was the additional information that was added to the spreadsheet? I don't know what you've done. I don't understand it.
Marc.
Well, you guys, right? Did you guys do all the work, or just tell me what you did? I don't know.
No, Ryan spent that week down.
For example, so I copied all those files. I went back up. Those files, you talked about LLC operating agreements. They're not in most of those files.
Okay, so you copied the LLC. So there's a whole lot of copying.
So as we're reading through every one of these files that are this thick, and we have to verify the ownership structure that you put on the spreadsheet, and look through all the exchanges, and look through all the deeds, and look through the mortgages that are in there, we have to do that to get an idea of what we're doing for each property. And, for example, so when I talk to Jeff and Tammy, I can't necessarily tell them, yes, we're going to deed this back to you. We're not, as Kevin said, in a position to do that. I'm familiar with the property. I've read through everything in there. I know what we would probably do, but we're not in a position to do that right now.
No, I think that's absolutely right. So we've done a tremendous amount of reviewing of the materials that you guys have provided to us.
But you haven't done any work on what any property's worth.
We have just started into that process. I mean, it's frustrating. We've been told to go, told to stop, told to go, told to stop. So while we've spent quite a bit of time on it, we haven't spent near as much time as we'd like to. And so we're just starting into the process of going through and valuing all the properties. We're going about that in the same way that I assume you would expect. You know, pulling comparative market analyses, and then ultimately we'll have to look at probably every single one of them.
How many roughly looked at? I mean, do you have a number like how many looked at?
In terms of
No, in terms of physical inspection, I drove around with Marc the first day, and we probably looked at 10 properties or so, maybe slightly less. I've also looked at the Sisters Mobile Home Park, and I'm familiar with the Mackenzie Bridge property. Other than that, we have not done inspections. If we had been given the green light a month ago, we would have seen many more. I mean, probably a month ago, we were on the verge of buying plane tickets to go look at some of the properties out of state and setting up a work plan for the next week in terms of seeing all the properties in the state of Oregon, and we're told to stop.
When you go through like files and stuff, do you ever have a question or something like?
Absolutely.
I think I only have gotten one email or something like, gosh, this is kind of, is there you have a question on this property, and gosh, I think we presented ourselves, we're here to be your worker bees, anyway, that's just go ahead.
No, and so in terms of the review of the files, we had finished our first pass through. Obviously, we're going to have questions for people who are involved in these properties. So on some of the properties, the most appropriate person might be one of you four. I spoke to Rich and Dan when I was down here the last time. I think they know more about some of these properties that functioned as your property managers, I guess, on a number of them. That's absolutely one of the areas that's on our agenda going forward. Now that we are now going forward again, I mean that's
okay.
Well, and you sent out emails requesting documents, additional documents.
No, and that's another part of the equation. Is, as we go through the files, obviously some of the files aren't complete, and we have Ryan has a number of spreadsheets of what I'd sort of call an exceptions list, and the principal reason that he's here today is to go back to the files here and see, and frankly, most of the files that are back in that office in the back there, I understand we've copied all of them, so it's ferret out where those other documents might be, operating agreements or someplace where we do frankly have a hole in terms of documentation.
So instead of Ryan coming down here and walking in that room and looking for stuff, I mean, why wouldn't he go, gee, I got this property here that I don't get. Is there anything you can tell me that will help me figure this thing out? Instead of, we'll just not communicate with these guys and we'll just do everything on our own. It's more expensive, but we'll just keep working away without ever asking a question. That's what you've been doing. Because I haven't gotten a question from either one of you.
No, you haven't.
Nothing.
And
if that's the most efficient way to do it, then I
That's
start going, is this the best outfit? Because their interest is running up their bill, their hourly bills. How much do you guys know?
Well, and exactly why, since we're proposing to do everything on with respect to this real estate on a percentage fee basis, why do you perceive that we want to run up the bill? Why do you perceive that we want to waste time? That doesn't cover
But
that.
this is real estate, we're talking about real estate directly, which is part of the percentage.
Right. We have no interest. We have absolutely no interest. We want to do it as efficiently as possible. There are a couple issues, Mark, with that. Number one is that once we got started again, we put together a list of things that we need. Okay, you guys are here, great. Brian's happy to ask you questions. It's not an issue. Okay, but let
Are you
me.
just saying that because we're bringing it up? Because he hasn't done it voluntarily.
He just got here.
Okay.
Okay, we did, as a result of the hearing yesterday, things changed, right? They did, and so we even debated about whether to have Ryan and you would even come over, but we decided that since you guys wanted to talk to us, that we would have them both come over, okay? But we don't know. I think that your trustee is going to appoint somebody today or tomorrow. So I think it'll be relatively quick. We'll know. You don't know. Because that will change the landscape, depending on who gets